Hello friends, welcome to my off-grid cabin. I'm Sarah and I like to make videos up here and show you how I do things without any electricity. It's a fun challenge for me and I hope you enjoy watching. What I've been working on the last few days is a quilt made from these antique quilt blocks that somebody gave me. I had a bunch of them and I ended up putting them together into this lovely quilt. It really came out beautiful. And I'll go ahead and put a picture up here of the finished quilt, well, the finished top. And I'm not 100% sure it's finished yet. I may want to add a border. Not sure what to do with the corners. You can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But I'm just thrilled with the way this came out. So I hope you'll enjoy watching the process. I'm going to tell you that where I started is not anywhere close to where I ended up. And that's how it happens sometimes. For me, anyway, I usually don't have a firm plan. I just start and I let it build. So that sounds fun to you. I hope you'll enjoy watching. Thanks for checking in. I am really excited about these blocks. They are old. I'm going to put them before the 1920s, and some of the fabrics are certainly older than that. They were given to me when I owned my shop. A lady brought them in and she said, I always meant to do something with these and never did. Maybe you can do something. So I think this is the week we're going to try it. Now, I have a bunch of these churn dash type blocks. I counted and I have 49 of them. So there's a lot of these. I'm pretty sure these were two different makers. Somebody made this batch and somebody made this batch. I only have about 20 of these 4-patch blocks. So they're probably going to actually end up going in the center, and then these churn dashes will somehow go around. Part of the reason sometimes I think these blocks never get put together is that they're all different sizes. And we're going to move in and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. You can see here, here's one of the blocks and here's another one. There's over a 1/2 inch difference and all the blocks are this way. So they're going to need to be trimmed down. I measured a bunch of these 4-patch blocks and I think I can trim them all to about 7.5. So I'm going to do that. These churn dash blocks can be trimmed down to about 7 inches. So that's where we're going to go with that. Get them all the same size. When I trim these up, I'm going to lose the points, and I know that. But if you look at them, even if I didn't have to trim them, I would have lost the points anyway, because a lot of these points come clear to the outside edge of the block, and that's just the way it is. I'm okay with that. We're going to just go with it. We're out here on the porch pressing my blocks. What a difference it's making. And the blocks are unfurling, a little bit of their mysteries for me. And I'm going to show you what I mean. I think that most probably these were sewn together into a top at one time, because we'll try and get this where you can see a lot of the edges are folded under like this, and I can see stitching. Here's another example. Clearly this was sewn together and taken apart. Now, I know that by pressing these right now, I'm setting in any stains that might be there, and there are. We've got music of a chainsaw today. It's just the way it is. So I hope it doesn't affect our sound much. But I don't want to wash these while they are just blocks. The stains are just part of them. When I'm 100 years old, I'm not going to look like I do today, nor like I did 30 years ago. So that's just the way it is. And I'm okay with that. But boy, they are pressing really nicely. Look at this. This is the other thing I love about these vintage blocks. This, and you see them from the back, this little square, look, there wasn't enough. So the dear lady added on a little triangle, and you can't even tell from the front. Isn't that neat? I'm just, I love working with these vintage blocks. So I am getting them pressed. My iron is very hot and working very well. This is a heavy iron. Um, I did a whole video about this iron, and it's great, but it's heavy. However, for today, it's perfect because I don't have a fire going yet, so I was able to put charcoal in there. And it's very hot, and it'll stay hot for a few hours. The downside is it's smoky, if you can see. I think you can see the smoke. So that's a little annoying, but it's fine. One of these days, my dream purchase is a butane iron. I would love to have one of those. Lehman's sells them, and the local Amish store has them. They're pretty expensive, so I'm holding off, maybe for my birthday. So there we go. I'm just going to plug along and get these pressed. Then we'll see what we're going to do next. I've been trimming my blocks up, and they're going to come together really nicely. I'm not going to have any trouble matching my points up. And I want to talk to you for a minute about how I trimmed these blocks, because it does matter. So let's go to the cutting table, and I'm going to show you. Here are a couple of blocks to show you just how vastly different in size they are. They simply must be trimmed, or they will not fit together nicely at all. As you can see here, if I were to just sew that together, there's no way. Now, what's going to happen when I trim that is some of these outer blocks are going to have the appearance, well, they're not just the appearance, but they are going to be smaller. And that's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be okay in the overall. What matters to me is that my quilt fits together, these center points match, and that the top lies flat. So I don't want to just lay this down here and trim it willy-nilly, or this is going to be skinnier than this one. I want to measure from the center out. So what I've decided to do is trim them to 7 inches. I have a 3.5-inch ruler here, and I can lay it on my center seam and cut. And then lay it on this center seam and cut. And then all of my blocks are going to be more symmetrical that way. So that's what I'm going to do. Depending on your project, who knows how you may have to do it. Here comes the tractor. Dale's been out cutting trees down today. He's having the best time of his life, I think. There we go. I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to cut it. Okay, and let's look. Perfect, 7 inches. I'm loving it. I'm going to turn this way, and I'm going to lay my ruler on the center. Now, I know it looks on this block like I am wasting an awful lot, but I promise you there are other blocks that were smaller that I was barely trimming off of. So it's going to be fine. Now we're going to trim this one right at 7. And there we go. Now, this outside is a little smaller than the inside blocks. It's fine. It's going to look great. Here we are at the design wall. My blocks are going up nicely because I trimmed them to the same size, measuring from the center of the block. All my intersecting seams are going to match perfectly. So I'm going to put this one up here. And I believe, there we go, that I have 20 of these blocks. So I think what I'm going to do is make a center piece that's the 20 blocks. Then I'm going to grab another piece of fabric. I have this chambray at home. I love it, and I feel like it really complements this kind of old-fashioned fabric. So I may put a border of that, then we may put the churn dashes. We'll see when we get there, but it's going nicely so far. Okay, I want to take a moment to show you how I'm trimming these churn dash blocks. As you can see, these points are all the way out at the edge. So I would lose those points even if I didn't have to trim these blocks, but I do have to trim them because some of them, like this one, are totally nuts. They're just totally crazy. 7 1/4 is what I'm trimming them to, and here is how I'm doing it. Man, that one's not even quite 7 1/4. Let's grab another one. Okay. Most of them are around 7.5-ish inches. What I'm doing, here's my 7 1/4 inch line, and here's my edge line. I'm just splitting the difference the best I can between those. And then I'm putting my ruler down, lining my 1/4 inch line with the 7-inch line, the edge of my ruler with the 7 1/4, and I'm cutting. Now, I know people say that you shouldn't use your mat as a ruler, and I don't disagree with that, but for something like this, it's a little tricky. These are chopped off, these aren't, but they're all going to be chopped off when they're sewn together. Now I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to line the bottom edge of the block with that straight line, and again, I'm just splitting the difference between the 7 1/4 and the straight edge there. And I'm going to cut at 7 1/4 and here. I could have trimmed them to 7 and then they'd be the same as the little 4 patch blocks, but that would have really chopped them down. So I don't know. We're just going to go with it and see how it is. But that's how I'm doing it. So I've got a lot of these to trim. Good morning, friends. It's a new day. And I've got to tell you, this is going in a whole different direction as I've been trimming up these blocks. I have 49 of these. And I started playing with putting them on point. And I think I can get way more bang for my buck if I put the quilt together like this. I am in love with it. And I think this, holding my camera, I didn't get my tripod out. I just wanted to take a quick shot and show you. I think that this chambray as the sashing is going to look fabulous. So that's kind of the direction I'm heading in right now. So things always change around here, don't they? But it's, I think, going to be great. We'll see. Good morning, friends. It's a new day here at the cabin. Now that I've decided on my diagonal set, I am in love with this, the way that's shaping up. Sometimes it's confusing piecing a diagonal set or on point quilt top. I totally get that. But if you shift your mind a little bit, and instead of looking at your quilt straight on, you almost have to turn your head and look at your rows going this way. They're odd numbers. My corner has 1 block. My next row has 3. My next row has 5. This row keeps falling down, but it's got 7. And there they all go. My next row is going to have 9 blocks, and then I'll start going backwards. 7, 5, 3, 1. Right now, all I'm worried about is sewing my sashing between the blocks and making my rows. I have cut my sashing into 2-inch by 7 1/4 inch strips because all of these blocks have been trimmed to 7 1/4. That'll keep everything nice and straight for me. So that's what I'm doing right now. and we'll keep moving on and explaining the rest as we get going. Here we are, friends, and I couldn't be more pleased with this. It is really, it's going to be so beautiful. I want to show you where we're at. So this, I put some of these here to kind of show you what it's going to look like with that sashing. I had a piece mixed in with these blocks. There was one strip of this pink background fabric. This is all there is. Enough to cut cornerstones. So I have opted to put these in. It's going to make the construction much easier. I'm not going to think about that right now, but I wanted to show you what it's going to look like. So I'm going to take those out because we are still in the time where we're just thinking about our rows. Now we've got to think about setting triangles in order to make our edges come out straight. Now, because I don't have any of this fabric except that one little strip, I need something for these corners. So I kind of think I'm going to use these blocks. Remember the ones I thought were going to be in the center of the quilt. Now, in hindsight, it would have been better had I not squared these up already. But oh well, that's just the way it goes because I switched gears here. And I'm also going to tell you this is absolutely the wrong way to do this. But I'm going to do it this way anyhow because it's what I've got here with me. Normally, for a setting triangle, you would cut a big square and cut it in an X so that the outside edges of your quilt are not on the bias. Or you would use a setting triangle ruler that calculates it for you where you cut a strip and cut those triangles. Well, I don't have any of that fabric. I don't have that stuff, and I want to keep going. So I thought, I think I have enough of these if I cut them in half. There's a few problems with that, but I don't care. The one problem is my edges will be on the bias. I'm okay with that. I've starched these. They're pretty stable, and I will know to be very careful. Number two, they may be a hair on the small side. Again, it's fine. I'm fine with that. I'll trim my quilt if needed. And number three, it will end up chopping this little point off here. Again, I'm okay with that. I think it'll kind of look fun and quirky, and it'll be a way to use these wacky blocks that I don't know what else I would do with them anyway. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick them in here as my setting triangles. So my next step, we're still thinking in rows. My next step is I do need a piece of this sashing on the end of each row. I don't know why I didn't do that, but I wasn't thinking, so I do need that. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to cut some of these in half, and I will sew them on to the end of each row, like this. Okay, so my row is going to, each row is going to look like that. I'm going to do that to all my rows right now. Can you guys believe how beautiful this is coming out? I am so excited. Actually, I'm going to scoot the camera in a little, and I'm going to show you how I'm getting this together. So happy with it. All right, so I put my setting triangles in. They're a little bit wonky because remember how I trimmed them, but you know what? This whole quilt's a little bit wonky, just like me. So I'm good with it. It's going well. Now, I put the rows together, okay? So I've done that to the whole quilt. Now it's time for I'm not going to worry about this outside corner yet. Now I'm going to put the sashing rows in. So here's what we do. I've cut sashing, and again, it's the same size as my block was, which is 7 1/4 long, and I've cut them 2 inches wide. I've also cut 2-inch squares as cornerstones. This way, everything lines up. A lot of times people think that cornerstones are going to be really hard, but actually, if you just have a solid strip in here, it's really hard to keep your blocks lined up. This way I have points to match everywhere, well, every 7 inches, and it just goes together like clockwork. So what I've done is, like right here, we've got a cornerstone on the end of each row, strip, cornerstone, strip, cornerstone, strip, cornerstone. It fits right there. Now on this row, it's the same deal. You've got a cornerstone at each end, and you have one strip for every block and each setting triangle, and it goes right in there. And then I can just pin this to this, sew it. I probably actually won't even pin it since I have matching points. Sew it to here, to here, to here, all the way down the whole quilt, and you're sewing it on the diagonal. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna keep making these sashing rows, sew it together, and it's gonna be gorgeous. I want to show you what I mean about cornerstones making it easier to construct the quilt. I'm sewing 2 long rows together. This is actually my last row. I don't have it pinned, but I'm approaching an intersection now. And do you see I can match up? I'm going to push my seam towards the denim and this one towards the denim, so they'll lock right together. And I can stitch all the way down there. And then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to now match this intersection up, and it'll match right up together because I've cut everything the right size. And stitch. And now I'm going to come down to this next intersection and match these up. If you don't put cornerstones, you don't have anything to go by. And that makes it hard to get everything lined up properly. There we go. Every now and then on this seam I got one going the wrong direction. I'm not too worried about that. It's just the way life happens sometimes. Now we're going to match this one. And I'm going to continue stitching all the way down this row, and then I'll show you my finished top. Good morning, friends. It's done, at least mostly, and I love it. It's measuring about 58 by 58. Our light's not real good in here, so I'm going to take it outside and show you as well and give you an up close, but I love the way it looks. Now I know I didn't give you a pattern for the churn dash, so what I'll do is down below I will link a couple free patterns for churn dashes, but really you could do this with any block. I hope it inspires you to get into your stuff and finish something up, and don't be worried about some of the little things like this. The important thing is that the quilt is square and flat, not that some of these are a little weird and crazy. That's what makes it fun. So I hope you have had a wonderful time watching. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed and you'd like to see more things like this. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. Ooh, in the sun. It is such a beautiful day up here at the cabin. The sky is blue, there's a breeze, it's lovely. And I thought we would take a little walk down to the sawmill and have a sneak peek at what Dale is doing. He normally doesn't like to be on video, but he gave the okay, so we're going to jog down there. I'm going to flip your camera around. Just take a little walk down the driveway, and you can see where we've cut some trees down. I'll spin around. There's the cabin. We got a new roof. Got a metal roof. I was sad to say goodbye to my shingles. I loved those wood shingles. but I hear the sawmill just fired up. Okay, I see Dale up here. He brought his sawmill. We had to cut some trees along the road because, well, because there are a lot of them and they keep falling. Oh, there goes Luna. She doesn't venture far, but she's following me. She's so funny. She's like a little dog. Not really very cat-like. All right, here we go. We'll sneak up and see what he's doing. What are you doing? Dale's going to be building a shed. So he cut trees. There he is, putting them in the sawmill. And he's making lumber. Isn't that clever?